Hello everyone and welcome back. So today I'm back after 2 months and I will upload video, but yeah, I'm still in here. So thank you so much for all of you that still subscribe this channel even I never upload video. It's like a 2 months. And today we are going to learn how to use skeleton loading instead of just using spinner or just stack loading. And as you can see in here, this is the final project. If I reload the browser, we get the skeleton and then we get the data. And we are going to use Material UI to styling these apps, and we are going to use JSON placeholder, which is /photos right here, to showing the photos and the text down here. And also this project is going to be responsive. If I open in the mobile, it's going to be look like this. And what else? Just stop talking so much. Let's go to the VS Code. And in here, I have already created React app, and I remove a couple files in here, and we just have index and app.js file. And in here, we just return hello world. And I have already running yarn start, and as you can see, this is hello world. All right, so now we need to create a component. So in source folder, I'm gonna create folder called components. And inside the components, I'm gonna create the header.js file and then media.js. And let's generate React functional path component in here. I can just use rafc and enter, and let's put a header in here. Save. Let's go to the media. Let's do the same thing, rafc, enter, and let's do media. And we need to import the header and the media in app.js file, and in here we can just say import header from dot slash, I cannot typing anymore, component slash header, and we need to import the media as well. So let's say media component slash media, and we need to return the header in here. Should be uppercase, and down here it should be the media. So now save. Header and save. Let's see in the browser. We should have header and media. All right. So next we need to install the Material UI. So let's go to materialui.com and let's scroll it down. And in here we can just copy, and I'm going to use yarn, by the way. So I can just say yarn add material UI/core and hit enter. All right, so now it's done. Let's go to the final project. The first thing what we are going to create is this header. It's not really important for the skeleton, but why not? Let's go to header, and in here we need to import a couple things from Material UI. So let's say from add material UI/core, and we need to import app bar and toolbar and typography. So let's get rid of this div. We need to return the app bar in here and just give a position to static, and inside in here let's do the toolbar, and inside toolbar I'm gonna give a text which is chandev right here. You can just copy and say typography, and just paste this text, and we need to say variant, set it to H6. So now save, and let's take a look to the browser. Now we get the header right here. Okay, so cool. But as you can see, we have the margin in here, so we need to reset that. So let's go to the app.js file, and in here we need to import CSS baseline from the material UI. So we can say import from at material UI/core, and we need to import CSS baseline. Okay, and we need to return down here. Let's do CSS baseline and save. Now the problem should be gone. Cool, right? So next, let's working with media component, which is this thing right here. So let's go to media.js file, and in here we need to remove the div, and I'm going to return container in here from material UI, and hit enter. It's gonna be automatically import up here. So let's close the container tag, and in here I'm gonna give a maximal width into medium, and I'm gonna put a grid in here, and let's just put a container. And basically what I'm doing is I want to make this to the center and add spacing and another good stuff. And of course you can go to the material UI documentation if you're not familiar with this grid right here. So let's give a direction into row and justify to center and align with align items. I'm gonna say center, and let's do the maximal width. I'm gonna set it into medium, and for the spacing I'm gonna say 1 inside in here. What I'm gonna do is I want to create array just for represent this data. Alright, because now we don't fetch any data from the API, and we are gonna create just array with just for value, and I'm gonna map through and grab the key, and I'm gonna return JSX in here. So for example, I'm gonna add p tag, which is paragraph tag. Why it's not autocomplete? Okay, just say hello. Now we should see for hello in here. Here we go, we have for hello. All right, of course we don't need hello. So let's get rid of this p tag right here, and in here we need to say grid. And as you can see, the first grid, which is the up here, we have the container, right? This is a container grid. Inside this container grid we should have item grid, so we can just say item. And now we need to create a cart, okay, for each cart right here. So we can use cart from material UI. You can just say cart, and let's do inside this cart we have cart action area, I think, and inside this inside this cart action area we have cart media. Okay, so let's do cart media. Again, if you confusing about all this kind of stuff, you can check the material UI documentation. They have a really good documentation. So in here I'm gonna say image, set it equals to. For now I just want to grab this image, so let's copy and put that right here. And for the image, not image, for the alt I'm gonna say image. Okay, and down here we have card content, and inside in here we have the typography, which is the text right here. Okay, so let's say typography. Wait, inside this typography we should have the text. For now we're just gonna say lorem 2. Here we go, not 2, I mean 6. Okay, in typography I'm gonna say variant set it equals to, say body 2, and for the color I'm gonna set that to text secondary, and this should be p tag, like so. So now let's try to save and let's see in the browser. Bam, it's gonna be look like this. But where is the image? This image right here. Basically we not add any weight in height in the image, that's why the image is not showing in here. So we need to import make style from the material UI to styling this card. So in here you can just say cons use styles with style set that equals to make styles, and in here we need to just specify the class what we are going to styling. So in here in the card right here we need to add class name with class name set that equals to classes dot card. But in here we need to create variable called classes with cons classes set that equals to use styles, like so. Okay, and let's go to the card media. In here we need to add class name, should be uppercase N, class name set that equals to classes dot, let's just say media, and for the grid right here I'm gonna add class name again with class name set that equals to classes dot grid. Okay, so in here I'm gonna grab the grid first, grid, and just for to make sure that everything is work, you can just say background into, for example, I'm gonna say red. Okay, this hue style is not the color's not changed. I'm not sure, but let's try to save and let's see. Now we have the background red, that's mean this is work. Okay, so in here I'm gonna give a margin top to 20, and for the card I'm going to give a maximal width into 210, and for the height I'm gonna give a 300. All right, and for the media I'm gonna give a height into 200. So now save and let's take a look. As you can see, this is what we have, and of course this should be responsive. As you can see, beautiful, right? If I add the array, for example, down here I'm gonna add just say 5, 6, 7. If I save now, bam. Okay, that's pretty cool. If I say 8, bam. But now what we are going to do is we need to fetch the data from this URL. So let's go to the source folder. I'm gonna create a folder called hooks. So in here, I'm gonna show you how we can create custom hooks. So in here, I'm gonna create a file called use request with use request.js file. Okay. So in here, let's generate functional base component with default export. So RAFCE, hit enter, and now we have export default down here. But we need to install Axios. So let's say yarn add Axios. Alright, it's done. Let's create some state in here. I'm gonna say data and set data, set that equals to use state. Let's auto import in here, and by default it should be empty array, and I'm gonna create another state which is loading, and set loading, set that equals to use state. By default I'm gonna say false, and we need to create the error and set error, set that equals to use state. By default it's just empty string. Alright, so down here we need to open the use effect because we need to fetch our data. It should be inside the use effect. Just make sure you import up here. So we have use effect, and of course this use request function is going to be tag property called initial URL, and let's just say uppercase, and in here we need to say initial URL. Okay, and inside in here I'm going to create function called fetch users, fetch data, I think fetch data, set that equals to arrow function. Okay, and we need to run the function down here. Okay, and we are going to change this function into a async await function. So just add async keyword in there, and we are gonna say set loading into true, and in here we need to say try and catch. Wait, we grab the error like so. So in here I'm gonna create variable called response, set that equals to, we are gonna wait for Axios. It's gonna auto import, and we are gonna put the initial URL in here, and down here we need to say set data into response dot data. Okay, so now our data now have a value from the response, and also we need to set the loading. Wait, we need to set the loading into back to false. Okay, and if we get error, wait, if we get error, we need to set the error into any error we have, and we are going to set the loading into false as well. Okay, and down here, instead of just return JSX, we need to return object in here with all the state we have. So let's say data loading and error. Okay, so now save, and now we can be able to use this use request to our app. This should be fetch like so, and I think we don't really need to import React in here. Let's get rid of that. So now we can be able to use this use request. So let's go to media now. So let's import the use request in here. So we can say import use request from dot slash hook slash use request, and down here we can destructuring the data and the loading. So we can say cons we grab the data and the loading, set that equals to use request, and we need to pass through the URL in here. So let's just copy this and put that right here like so. And now if I console.log data, we should have all the data into the console. So let's go in here, and I'm going to inspect element. Let's do init URL is not defined. Yeah, it should be uppercase in here. So now save, and let's go back and let's make it bigger. Let's open the console. Wait, what happened? Let's reload that again. So let's see. Here we go. As you can see in here, we have 5,000 data. All right. But of course, we don't need to render all 5,000 data in the media right here. So I'm going to create a variable called, let's say, cons slice data, set that equals to data dot slice. I just want to get the 0 until 8 data. Okay, and instead of create the array in here, I'm going to put the slice data in there. So slice data. Okay, so now we can grab the image by go to, let's see, URL. So let's go back, and we can just say, of course we need to grab the item in here. Item, and we need to say item.url, and for the text in here we need to say title. So we can say item.title. Now save. Let's take a look, and here we go. We have the image right here. If I refresh, you don't get the skeleton, but bam. We have warning in here. Each child in the list should have a unique key. Okay, so in here we can add key, so that equals to key. Okay, so now save, and now the error should be gone. So let's refresh that again, and yes. Alright, so now let's create the skeleton. So in here, down here, we need to create the skeleton. So we can say loading. If the loading is true, we need to render I'm gonna create an array with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 value, and I'm gonna map through everything, grab the key, and I'm gonna return down here. So we need to return the item grid, so we can just copy this and put that right here. Wait, put that right here, and let's close the grid. And inside the grid, I'm going to create another grid in here. Wait, grid, and I'm gonna give a width into, wait, say 200, and in here I'm going to return the skeleton. Wait, skeleton. As you can see, we don't get the auto import in here. That's because skeleton is inside the lab. If we want to use everything inside the lab, we need to install this is right here, which is material UI/lab. So let's just copy, and I'm gonna say yarn add, paste that, and enter. Alright, so it's done. Now if I block the skeleton and I control space, I have the auto import. And if I hit enter, now there's gonna be auto import up here. It's gonna be come from material UI/lab. And down here, let's just close that. Okay, let's go back to the material UI documentation, and let's go to the skeleton. And skeleton basically have 3 variants. They have text, circle, and rack. Okay, this for the text, for the circle, and for the rack. So let's go to the rack. See, we need to add a variant in here, so that it goes to rack. Okay, and we're gonna give a width, so that equals to 210, and height, so that equals to same. And we need to add a box in here. Wait, box. And in here, I'm going to give a padding top into 0.5, and I'm gonna give a height, set that equals to 52, and inside the box I'm gonna render skeleton again in here. This is for the as you can see, no, we cannot see that because I stopped the server. So let's go back in here, and I'm going to skeleton, and in here I'm gonna say width into 60. Okay, and I'm going to return the card here if the loading is false. So we can say loading, and let's just add explanation. All right, so let's try to see in the browser. Let's refresh. We should see skeleton and then the data. So let's try again. We get the skeleton and the data. All right, so I think that's it for this video, guys. Hope you learned something new. Even this is just simple video, but I hope you learned something new, and I'm going to try to create video every week, I hope. So I'm gonna see you in the very next video. Bye.